You are tuned into the Green Hornet Case Files, a beacon of truth in a world shrouded in mystery. Unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
Ooh, you know, that would be us.
That is us.
Yeah, I'm Greg.
And I'm Kory.
You were waiting for it, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah. I tell you what, it's been a day or two since we had the opportunity of sitting down and recording. And there's been a lot of things kind of going on in the background that's a little bit stuff we want to talk about. I did have the opportunity of going out, was it just yesterday, and doing a Green Hornet presentation in front of a local Kiwanis group.
Did you really?
I did.
What happened there?
You know, they were pretty awesome. They asked a lot of great questions, and it just wound up being a really fun time.
That is fantastic, dude. Yeah, I didn't even know you were doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and by the time this comes out this week, it will be another, I think, 2 weeks or 1 week, 2 weeks. And I'll be going to Spokane, Washington for Lilac City Comic Con and doing a Green Hornet panel there. So
heck yeah.
Yeah. So just a number of little things that have been going on.
Are you doing SummerCon this year?
I am not doing SummerCon this year that I know of at this point. So
just curious, because
yeah.
I got my meet and greet with Shatner.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
That is, say hi to Bill for me, would you?
I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how that is. Hey, if you like what we're doing, be sure and drop by ko-fi.com/Green Hornet Case Files. We'd sure appreciate a little love from you in the form of large donation and I don't know.
Way to go, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. What was it they always say? If you don't ask, the answer's always no. So at least 100s, okay? Or, 50s would be good too. That'd be great.
Well, that's I think that's part of how we became friends, was just both of us weren't afraid to ask.
Yeah. If you don't ask, the answer will always be no.
100%.
Yeah. Podcast at greenhornet66.com. Please hit the like, subscribe, and comment button. And, since last time we gave out the link to the movie, the short film that I was part of,
Requiem for a Hornet.
We have had, let me double check this real quick while we're kind of sitting here yacky doodling. We have had a person or two or three actually go out and check out the film. And I should have had this all switched over before we jumped into this, but I did not. It looks like we have had somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70 people get out and check out the film.
Awesome.
That's
fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's great. We haven't had an awful lot of comments about it, which leads me to believe that people didn't like it, but that's okay too. I don't have a problem with that. You
made what you made, and it doesn't change how being proud of it.
No, I'm happy with what we did. I would do it again. There's some things that I would change, do a little bit differently, that I've had conversations with my fellow creators about, but it was a piece that was in my heart, and I went with it, and so there you go.
I liked it.
Well, thank you. I also had a note from, I've got a number of comments here to pass along. I think a few of these I passed along to you.
Yeah.
One of the comments was fun film. About the film. I'm a Green Hornet fan since the 80s. I even had a chance to interview Van Williams once for a magazine. And interested in seeing more of this particular Hornet's tales. That's Travel Secrets with TV's Dave Gallivan. Is the person who wrote that. And,
heck yeah, we should talk to Dave.
Yeah, we probably should. Daniel Dickholtz says, I'm in the middle of listening to the podcast, but didn't hear this one mentioned in regards to last episode's fan films. The Green Hornet fan film by fan film / pilot by Ape Prime Productions. And it's a dark one. It's fairly dark when it comes to the subject matter. It's like, human trafficking and young girls and that kind of thing. And I did have it written down here. I just failed to mention it last time around.
So you've seen it?
I have seen it. It, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Is it on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
I will make sure I put a link to that on our show notes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Patricia Weekly, writer, says, I'm in the middle of a marathon of the podcast and enjoying it a lot. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to not go into the rest of her email at the moment because it has to do with the subject matter of our show tonight.
Oh, okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Then we did have an email.
We did indeed have an email.
And the funny thing is, I shared this email with you. I've shared it with a couple of other family members, and most everybody had the exact same comment. And we will get into that. It's not necessarily a bad email, but because the person who wrote it makes some very good points. Basically, the points are the subject of his subject line was, you don't do a Green Hornet podcast. You don't do.
And so he does make some valid points, being that throughout the email, he pointed out that numerous times we tend to go off topic. We mention our personal lives and we talk about our fandom more than the topic of the Hornet itself.
Sometimes, yes. It mentions the fact that, we don't go into depth on like Casey or Mike Axford or Gunnigan or, some of those kind of characters, those kind of topics that I get it. We don't do a lot of deep dive on that, but I also have this to say. We're not done yet.
Yeah. We got a long ways to go. Unfortunately, this person said that they were stepping away and not going to be an active listener anymore, and that sucks.
It does.
But at the same time, what I say to anyone who says, what you're doing isn't what I want, okay, I understand that. But at the same time, if that's what you want, make it, man.
Go for it. Yeah.
DIY. That's the beauty of podcasting. Now, our show is a labor of fandom. It's a labor of love, but it is just a couple of knuckleheads talking about something we're into. We have said from episode 0, we just love this and we're trying to keep the conversation alive.
We're not
a wealth of knowledge. We're trying to lead you to places where that knowledge is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that's not what you're looking for, I'm real sorry. And I hope to win you back. But if it's not, that's okay too.
But as you say, if that's what you want to do, be like us. Go make your own thing.
Yeah.
Go do that.
And for all of you who do enjoy what we do, thank you so very much. It means the world that anybody listens to us at all. But, at the end of the day, like I said, we're just a couple of fans talking about fandom.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep the conversation going, keep it out there.
And that's one of the things that's been the kind of thumbs up that we've gotten from not only just the listeners, but now with Mary Kay and her son, they've given us thumbs up as well. They like the fact that we're just talking about the Green Hornet, not necessarily that we do a deep dive every time. So
now, that being said, we did take the constructive criticism offered in this email, and we've got some ideas about how to make those things, while not the focus, more prominent within the show.
Sure. And, again, it's not over yet. We're just barely have cracked the shell on season 2, and we have the rest of the year that we have to fill up at this point. So who knows? Yeah. We'll see how things go. But again, thank you for your email. I will thank you for your email. I did not 100% take offense to it. There are some things in there that you wrote that I do take offense to, but I understand the place that you're coming from, and we'll move on. And if you want to come back, great. If you don't, it was nice chatting with you.
Most importantly, podcast at greenhornet66.com. We'll take all the constructive criticism, but we also like it when people say nice stuff.
Yeah, and 99% of what we get has been very positive, and
phenomenal.
I can't thank you enough for that. So one of the things I wanted to do this episode, this is not the primary thing, but when we did premiere the movie, the Requiem for a Hornet, last time around, we teased the fact that there were a few Easter eggs in the show, and I wanted to run down a list of those.
And we got an email with somebody who was like, I saw this and I saw this.
I wasn't quite sure about this, but hey, what about?
It was pretty awesome.
So from the opening shot, I think everybody that has commented has picked up on the fact there were pill bottles on the nightstand, and the pill bottles all came from Stryker Pharmacy. That was a pretty easy one to pick up on. There was Dr. G. Trendle, that was the administering physician. And kind of a sideways one, I don't know if anybody picked up on this one or not. If you could read, Reid's address is on Greenway Drive, which was William Dozier's production company name, was Greenway.
Oh, I don't think I even caught that one.
See how you are?
Right?
Oh. So we move forward, and there's the point where Britt Reid is in the kitchen. He reaches over and he turns on his little iPad so he can listen to the news. And the voice of the news announcer is Scott Mulia. Scott Mulia, who happens to be the great-grandson of George Trendle. We asked Scott if he would be that, and he loved it. Just loved being that little extra voice there. So George is still living with us.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. I think a lot of people, if you're a Hornet fan, you picked up on the fact that the license plate that was uncovered was V192, and that was actually the license plate from Black Beauty number 2, courtesy of Carl Kirchner. And it's actually Carl's hand reaching down and pulling back the car cover, not me. So Carl's like, what do you want me to do? I can do that, sure.
It is pretty seamless, though. It's well done.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. There is a shot of the Daily Sentinel newspaper, and there are bylines in the newspaper, one by Mr. Michael Axford and one by William Bill Gunnigan.
Nice.
Yeah. I thought.
Where'd you get that newspaper made up at?
Someplace very close by that somebody works for.
Yeah.
Local print shop here. There was a photo of an older Asian couple. And it was supposed to be, and some people picked up on it, some people didn't. That was supposed to be Kato and Kato's wife. And the assumption is that they've both gone, they both passed on. So,
see, I prefer to think I in my own headcanon was, and you're the writer, so but in my version of it, it was Kato had gone on to live a life very similar to our next guest for next episode.
Oh yeah, well, and that could very well be. I will
keep people guessing.
We'll premiere that before we end this afternoon. So, and the final thing that I can remember, I'm trying to think about all the things that we stuffed into this film, is when Britt Reid is going through the fight scene. It's not a very long fight scene. It's very quick. But the defensive moves that I was taught for that scene are actually classic Jeet Kune Do defense maneuvers.
Nice.
Taught to me by our good friend, and he just made that point. He said, "Hey, it's Jeet Kune Do is what it is." So there you go. All right. Are we done yet?
Nope, not yet.
I mentioned Patricia Weekly sending me this email, and she got to talking. She says, I may be a little bit behind, but I thought that I'd my own 2 bits regarding some of the subject covered in the podcast she's listening to was she mentions the inciting event for Britt Reid to become the 1966 Green Hornet. Was his father's own death in prison for a crime that he was framed for, and that it was mentioned slightly in the episode Frog is a Deadly Weapon.
Nice touch.
Yeah. She also mentions that it was made more clear in the 1966 Whitman book, kind of a children's book, The Case of the Disappearing Doctor, where Britt says in his explanation to Scanlon, he's fighting fire with fire. And I don't have that, so I have not read that.
We're going to have to track that down.
Yes, I'm looking for a copy kind of as we speak. And that got me thinking. Anytime that you're doing any kind of literary work or a film, there is always, and you know this as a writer-reader, there's always what's called the inciting event.
Yeah.
It's the thing that causes everything else to happen. And I thanks, Pat, for throwing that out there, because it got me thinking about what she said as far as the 66 show and being the inciting event. But that was just the 66 show.
Yeah.
And if you read through any of the other material, comic books, you listen to the radio show, you watch the 1940s, there are variations.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating, that there is not necessarily a
It's not the death of Bruce Wayne's parents.
Right.
There's not, this is a solid reason why he does this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fairly loosey-goosey as far as, the inciting event. The radio series, I don't know that it was ever mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I always took it, and actually I brought this up to you before. I sent you an article, a Reddit post.
Yeah.
That used a phrase that struck as the way I've always thought of it, but not the phrasing. And it was a familial sense of justice.
Yeah.
So going all the way back to the Lone Ranger. This commitment to the family doing what is right and what is necessary is the way I always looked at Britt Reid.
Yeah.
Is just that's this commitment to this is how we do it, that we take care of people that fall through the cracks.
Right. I think in the radio series it's implied that Reid, just becomes frustrated with the limitations of the legal system and police corruption, and takes the inspiration of his ancestor, his granduncle, the Lone Ranger, and goes that route.
So with that particular, do you think, and I think we've brought this up before, it seems to me that the Hornet has more in common with, say, Daredevil than with Batman.
Explain.
In the way that it's the limitations of justice.
Yeah.
Is what the focus is. And again, taking it back to a street level, and I know Batman started off that way, but I mean, Batman predominantly fights the rogues gallery, and that's what he does.
Right.
But Daredevil, much like the Hornet, saw I realize the irony of what I just saw, but was able to look at the things that were slipping through and justice that wasn't being brought. Now, Matt Murdock's looking at it as a lawyer. Britt's looking at it as a newspaper man. It's just that level of street vigilantism seems to be that I need to take care of the people in this area more than, but think globally, act locally.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. Interesting thought there. If you go to the 1940 serials, I don't believe there's ever a mention.
No, I've watched those a couple of times now, all the way through, and it's not brought up.
The newspaper is attacked or threatened by organized crime, but there is no inciting event outside of that says that this is the reason why Britt Reid became the Green Hornet.
Do you think that perhaps time and place, where the general outlook was just to do what was right in the 30s and 40s? Like, we're coming off of, we're dealing with World War II. Like, just the good guy is the good guy because we need a good guy. As opposed to a need for an inciting event.
I think that was kind of across the board, though, during that time.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Any of the serials, especially, that's, there was no real event unless it was like a Flash Gordon of some sort. But I think a lot of those even, it just became this factory that just churned out these cliffhangers. And, it was just daring and dashing and dangerous. And that was my 3D.
I kind of want a T-shirt that says that.
Daring, dashing, and dangerous. It's my alliteration T-shirt there.
I like it.
And then we move forward into some of the comics, because we already mentioned the 66 series and the fact that it's just ever so briefly mentioned in that. It really, really, truly isn't until you get into the comics when you start seeing Britt Reid Sr. coming into the picture.
Which Ron Fortier, like he did the whole timeline generational storyline
Yeah, and he said how he sat on his floor and mapped out the entire thing. Yeah.
Just see him with like the pins and the strings and the chain smoking.
I like that. And then you get into, I think, in fact, what the article that you sent talks about Kevin Smith's Green Hornet.
Yeah, the Dynamite timeline, starting with Kevin Smith's run and through Masks, Volume 1 and 2. He points out in that, and when we're going to link this post that I'm talking about.
Right.
But there's several clickable links that take you to points throughout the comic that will show you not just Britt's inciting, but like the event that caused him to become the Hornet, which is in there. Also, the things that caused him to be like certain decisions that were made that influenced Kato, influencing him, influenced the technology that he inherited from his dad, Britt Reid Sr.
Yeah.
And all these different things that set the Hornet up to be the hero.
We can take that one step further and show the inciting event for Kato as well.
Correct, yeah.
Because you do not get any of that at all in the radio series. He's the radio series, the serials. You don't get any of that in the 66. It really isn't until you get into the Dynamite comics. I think where they actually wind up, and maybe there was a Now comic. I can't remember. The gray cells, the old gray cells are not cranking too well this evening. You remember that there is at least one, if not two, different runs of something. I wished I could remember what it was that shows how Kato, was part of the army and didn't want to be a part of the army, and how he wound up, breaking away and becoming, befriended by Britt Reid, who was off on a tangent doing his own thing. And, these are really wonderful stories that some of these comic writers have put together. And I think a lot of the writers that are doing, like the Patricia Weekleys and those that are doing the short stories for our buddy at Moonstone Books, I think they're utilizing a lot of that as canon material now. That's my guess. Now I'm a podcast.
GreenHornet66.com.
Yeah, there you go.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the fact that it was never really established, like canonically, early on, that gives these creators who come back to it so much runway, so much to play with.
Yeah.
Like you can create all kinds of stuff and make it work really well. And eventually I think somebody will stumble across what makes it to, nope, that's the way it was. Just all decided that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. You jump in and talk about Seth Rogen's 2011 film, which basically did the exact same thing with the death of James Reid, in this case, instead of Britt Reid Sr., due to a suspected bee sting. Same basic idea, though. Will be interesting, though, to see if David Koepp, as we hopefully see, the new film directed by Lee Wanell, that, if I said that right?
Yep.
It will be interesting to see what maybe direction that they go, if that's the direction they choose.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think they need to just come in and swing it. I don't think an origin story is how it should go. I think
an interesting thought, yeah.
And I'm saying that because I think the world at large is burned on superhero origin stories. we get it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They at that point, and not to dissuade our topic at all, the inciting event becomes moot. We need to come in the middle of it and just, we've established what this is real fast, and we're off and running into the story.
It's an interesting concept, interesting idea there.
Well, it's just, I mean, we've seen Peter Parker get bit by the spider 100 times.
Yeah.
We've seen Batman's parents killed 100 times.
Yep.
You know, we've seen Clark Kent on the farm. We know. Get to the point. And I think for the Hornet to set itself apart, I don't think a setup is really needed.
What do you think about? Let me throw this at you. Because of the fact that the Hornet actually came 2-3 years prior to Superman.
Yeah.
Prior to Batman. If they were to write that story of like they did in the Seth Rogen film, they were to write that story of Britt Reid Sr. becoming, getting killed, or, husband and wife being killed or something. How many people do you think would go, oh, they're just rewriting Batman again?
Most. I think most people that don't know, or only have fleeting memories of, like, say, that FX commercial that we showed or played. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're going to have people of that generation that, that's all they've got. And they're going to think it's biting Batman.
I don't think that's a way that should go. But it went through my brain that if that were to happen, people would go, they're just rewriting Batman again.
And that's why we jump right in. You start off in the middle of the Hornet and Kato in a rainy alley beating somebody down. You just come into the fight. Like, I mean, coming in hot, John Wick style hot. And then you establish in the car, in the Black Beauty on the way back, the paper, blah, 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 tomorrow. And you set it up. He runs a paper. Cool, let's go. You know what I mean?
You better get busy writing, dude. What are you doing the rest of the evening? You should bash this out before midnight. Come on.
Right? It's how I see it is I don't think that, I think people are familiar enough with the concept of vigilante justice that we go, okay, this guy runs a newspaper and he's got this sidekick who probably is 1,000 times more lethal than he is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because he's not going to do anything lethal, because at the end of the day, they're still the good guys. And we go through, you set up the premise through, like, boom, you've got this crazy fight. And then you see a montage of the newspaper printing, Hornet strikes again, criminal mastermind Green Hornet. Like, set up that he's posing as the bad guy.
Right.
And then you're done.
Right.
You're into the story now. Give us a reason to care.
Interesting. Yeah. It just went through my brain.
Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. I apologize.
No. That's fine. It just went through my brain as you were soapboxing that there isn't an inciting event per se in the movie Serial, in the very first movie Serial, but there is the point where Kato hands Britt Reid, he opens a dresser drawer and hands him the mask. And for the first time, he puts the mask on and hands him the gas gun. And for the first time, you get to see that. But I'll have to go back and rewatch it. I don't know, other than the newspaper maybe being attacked, there wasn't any, there's no mention of, parents or deaths or anything of that nature. But it just all of a sudden went through my brain that Kato actually hands him and he makes mention that, boy, you've done a really fine job with this, Kato. So I wanted to clarify that one just before I got, too far down the road. So it's a really interesting thought about the days of, knowing that, as you've said several times, Batman's parents, get killed in the alley. And the bulk of the people I don't know understand that there has been no real strong inciting event that is canon across the board for the Green Hornet.
You know what could be interesting is that's an interesting character study that you could even put within a new film.
Yeah.
Is him grappling with why he does it.
You're going to make me write a new film, aren't you?
I mean, when you think about it, that could be a very interesting take. Is he's knee deep in it. Like I said, we come in the middle. And it's him going, why do I do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good good story arc of him coming in strong, starts to get doubt, comes out the other side knowing that what he's been doing is right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spitballing. That's
It'll be interesting to see the comments, and we by all means urge everybody to weigh in on this subject. And if we got it completely wrong, please let us know. Podcast. At greenhornet66.com. I'm rereading some of the fan fiction, basically, that has been done by Moonstone, and read one of Pat Weekly's short stories last evening. And there's such a rich history that these writers are creating out of basically the ether, because there was never a show Bible that I know of. I'd love to find one. I'd love to find a Trendle Striker, show Bible that this is what you did and what you didn't do. I don't think at that point in time there ever was any such animal. I think they just did radio shows.
Yeah, the closest you're going to get is Martin Graham's book.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Well, I tell you what, this is a subject that I think that, again, I love to hear what everybody has to say about the inciting event, and whether you believe it from the comic books, you believe it from the movie, you believe it from, the little pieces of thread that are thrown out there in the 66 show, or any of those kind of things. I'm interested to hear what everybody has to say. So with that, I think we're just about to the end of, I'm trying to tick off the things that I wanted to talk about.
We're coming up against it, yeah.
Yeah, we really are. Again, drop us a note, podcast at greenhornet66.com. If you like what you're hearing and you don't want to write us a scathing email.
Ko-Fi. Coffee.
Yeah. ko-fi.com/Green Hornet Case Files, and would love to hear what you have to say. Love to see a little support and love from you guys. And again, thank you so much for the time that you spend listening to us. Sometimes digressing, sometimes listening to me name drop, and it's Kory and I have done a number of podcasts together over the years, and we just have this way of going down a rabbit hole sometimes. Move out of the way, rabbit.
Yeah, it is the problem when you get to people who like to. I've completely lost words, so yeah, we are right up against it.
Oh, here we go, Kory.
Yeah, the baby.
Yeah,
that's what I needed.
Got to give you a buzz there for that.
That's
one.
what I needed.
All right. Love to hear from you. Love to hear your thoughts on all this. That's the other thing I wanted to say real quick before we shuffle off to Buffalo here is next podcast in 2 weeks.
This is the big reveal.
I'm just going to say it now because I want everybody to be so very excited about it. I did all all a while back, I did mention the fact that we were going to have this guy on one of our upcoming podcasts, and I posted a picture of Al Wong, who was in an episode of the 1966 Green Hornet.
And he is the most interesting man in the world. He's a fascinating dude.
Absolutely fascinating. I've already gone and bought a couple of his books just so I could read, some of the stuff that he's written. So next episode, special guest we're going to have here on the Green Hornet Case Files is Chung Liang Al Huang.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Do yourself a favor. Do not miss that episode. Not just for us, for Al. Oh my goodness. I'm not kidding. There's very little Kory talking in that episode because I was just wrapped by everything he said. I love him.
He is just an outstanding human being. And you don't want to miss this one. You just don't want to miss it. Even if you're upset with us. All right. With that, my friend,
I think we're ready.
Shall we?
Let's roll.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.